The storm had already darkened the highway when Adam Reynolds, a 32-year-old single father fighting to keep his life stitched together one day at a time, slammed on the brakes of his old red pickup. Through the sheets of pouring rain, he saw a woman stumbling on the shoulder of the road, soaked, shivering, and clutching a tiny boy against her chest. Her nurse uniform clung to her like a second skin, rainwater dripping from her hair as she tried to shield her child from the cold wind. The sight hit Adam with a force he couldn't explain. Something about her trembling arms, something about the hopelessness in her eyes as cars sped past, and something about the way that little boy rested helplessly on her shoulder told him she wasn't just stranded, she was breaking. If you believe in kindness, if you believe in second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support helps us bring more stories that heal hearts. For a moment, Adam stayed frozen in his truck, staring through his fogged-up windshield at the stranger who seemed to have been carved straight out of misfortune. Adam knew the look of someone whose world was slipping apart, because not long ago, he had worn the same expression. After losing his wife during childbirth 3 years earlier, he had spent countless nights alone on the bathroom floor, holding his newborn daughter and begging life to slow down. So when he saw the woman's shoulders shaking, he didn't hesitate. He stepped out into the storm, letting the rain soak him instantly, feeling the same sting she must have felt for far too long. The woman's name was Clara, a 29-year-old nurse who had just finished a triple shift at the hospital. Her son, Liam, only 3 years old, had fallen asleep exhausted and feverish. She had been driving home when her car sputtered twice and died, leaving her stranded on the highway in the middle of the storm with her child burning with a fever. Clara had tried calling for help, but her phone battery died moments later. The cold rain soaked her uniform and her baby's clothes, and fear wrapped around her tighter than the storm. She kept whispering prayers, hoping someone, anyone, would show mercy. Adam guided Clara and her baby toward his truck, helping her into the passenger seat as she kept apologizing, her voice shaking. Inside the warmth of the old pickup, Liam stirred slightly, his small hand clutching Clara's uniform. Adam noticed the boy's flushed cheeks and the heat radiating from his tiny body. He remembered too well the panic of caring for a sick child alone. Without wasting time, he started the engine and drove toward the nearest urgent care center, even though it was in the opposite direction of his own home. Clara, overwhelmed and confused by the generosity of a stranger, stared at Adam with eyes that had forgotten what hope looked like. As the truck glided through the rain, Clara allowed herself to breathe for the first time in hours. Her shoulders eased, her heartbeat slowed, and for a brief second, she realized she wasn't entirely alone in the world. Adam told her he was a mechanic, that he understood the old cars that broke down without warning. He shared just enough for Clara to feel safe but not embarrassed. She listened, still trembling, but with each passing minute, she sensed a softness in Adam that reminded her of someone who had walked through darkness and chosen not to become bitter. When they reached urgent care, Liam was quickly attended to. The doctor assured Clara that the boy's fever was due to exhaustion and mild dehydration, but that he would be fine with rest and proper hydration. The relief hit Clara so hard that her knees wobbled, and Adam instinctively caught her before she fell. She leaned into his steady arms, not because she knew him, but because she desperately needed strength, and he offered his without hesitation. After the checkup, Clara didn't want to go home yet. Her apartment was small, dark, and lonely, and the storm outside only amplified the heaviness she carried. Adam saw the fear in her eyes and invited her and Liam to his place until the storm passed. Clara wanted to refuse, but her heart, cracked and weary, whispered that maybe kindness didn't always come with conditions. So she agreed. Adam's home wasn't fancy. It held mismatched furniture, framed photos of his daughter Emma, and the lingering scent of old books and baby powder. But it felt warm, warmer than Clara had felt in months. Emma, a cheerful little girl with wide, curious eyes, instantly tried to share her stuffed rabbit with Liam, who was still drowsy and weak. Watching the two children together, Clara felt something inside her loosen, like an anchor being lifted after years of being stuck. As the night deepened, Clara sat quietly at Adam's kitchen table while he made her a warm cup of tea and reheated a bowl of homemade soup. She watched him move around the kitchen, noticing the way he hummed softly under his breath, the way he gently checked on Liam every few minutes, and the way he carried grief in his eyes, but not bitterness. Clara realized that Adam understood pain the way she did. He wasn't fixing her life. He was simply offering support, and that made all the difference. Clara told Adam about her struggles, how she worked double shifts to pay rent, how she had no one to help her with Liam, how she often cried in the storage room during breaks because life felt too heavy. Her husband had left when she was pregnant, and she had been fighting alone ever since. Adam listened without judgment, his eyes softening with each detail. When she finished, he didn't offer cliché words or false promises. He simply nodded and told her she had done incredibly well, more than most people could ever manage. It wasn't the solution she needed, but it was the recognition her heart had been starving for. The next morning the storm had passed, and Liam woke up feeling much better. Clara prepared to leave, feeling embarrassed for having taken up so much space in a stranger's life. But before she could thank Adam and go, he walked outside to her broken car and spent an hour repairing it. She watched from the doorway, holding Liam on her hip, feeling emotions she could barely name. No one had helped her like this before, not without wanting something in return, not without judgment, not without making her feel small. But Adam did everything out of pure kindness, the kind that left people speechless. When the car finally sputtered back to life, Clara felt tears fill her eyes. She wanted to say thank you, but the words didn't feel big enough. Adam simply smiled and told her that life gets easier when people help each other, even in small ways. His words burrowed into her heart, settling in places she hadn't visited in a long time. Over the following weeks, Clara and Adam's paths crossed again and again. What began as chance meetings turned into intentional visits. Emma and Liam became inseparable friends, while Clara found herself leaning on Adam not because she had to, but because she felt understood. Adam admired Clara's strength, her devotion to her son, and her resilience despite her exhaustion. Little by little, their broken pieces didn't feel so sharp anymore. Life didn't suddenly become perfect for them. Clara still worked long hours and Adam still struggled to balance fatherhood with running his small garage. But they no longer faced their battles alone. They learned to share meals, share worries, and share laughter. And soon, the world around them began to feel softer, lighter, almost warm. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your engagement helps us bring more real, emotional stories to people who need hope. Before the ending plays, please comment below. Kindness can change a life. And with time, that roadside storm, the night when a single dad met a crying nurse holding her feverish baby, became the moment that quietly changed all their lives. It was proof that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come disguised as tragedies, and the kindest people are often those who have suffered the most. Adam and Clara didn't just find comfort that night. They found the family they didn't know they were missing. And from that day on, the rain no longer reminded them of fear, but of the night kindness brought two broken souls home.